In 1968, NASCAR driver and race team owner Smokey Yunick found a way of allowing his cars to refuel significantly less often. He did so without making any efficiency improvements, nor breaking the regulations on the maximum fuel tank size. How? I'll give you that one more time. In 1968, NASCAR driver and race team owner Smokey Yunick found a way of allowing his cars to refuel significantly less often. He did so without making any efficiency improvements, nor breaking the regulations on the maximum fuel tank size. How?
They drove slower.
Okay, that would... You know what, Sam? It's a genius answer, but I'm going to rule that out as an efficiency improvement.
Okay.
It was specified this was a NASCAR driver, right?
Yes.
So I do think that driving slower would have been potentially an issue. But no, that's not a bad thought, because I guess if you drove slightly slower, it might be made up for in the lack of refueling.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it would be a winning strategy.
Sam, you should know this. You love your race cars.
I love
Sam.
Formula One. NASCAR is just circles. Don't at me.
A fun fact about me is that I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where NASCAR is very popular. And at my high school, the two largest buildings at that high school are both named after NASCAR drivers.
Is that interesting?
I thought it was kind of interesting.
Did you see the guy who, in NASCAR, drove, blasting his car into the edge of the circuit round a curve? Because
that rocked.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. This is a loophole that was closed later, that was technically allowed in the rules at the time. Yes, occasionally someone comes up with a strategy, like just on the last lap, ramming your car into the boundary and, speeding around the final corner, that then gets outlawed. This is that same kind of hack.
Did he find a shortcut?
No, I think the question specified he was able to drive for longer.
Yep.
So same speed.
Yep. This is not an efficiency improvement. The only change from the outside, if you like, is the cars go for longer.
This is kind of what the answer would be if this guy lived in a Looney Tunes cartoon. But I'm going to put it out here and hope that it maybe gets us closer. Now, what I'm envisioning, Tom, is what if I wanted to not have to ever refuel? Here's what I would do. I would put a big old tank of gasoline right in the middle of the track, and I would get a real long hose, and I would connect that hose to my car, and I would drive around the inside lane, and it would always be pumping new fuel into my car, and I'd never have to stop. Did I get it?
You're actually close. Okay,
Here we go. I got it. It's a reverse Hacienda 172. You know what I'm talking about, Adam?
No.
That's the plane. That's the airplane.
Yeah. Ben gets it. Yeah. That was the plane that stayed in the air for 50 days because they drove a pickup truck under it. And then
because they drove a different plane to refuel it.
No. They drove a pickup truck, and then they would fly low and then take a line from the pickup truck. Here, airplane down to the NASCAR.
Oh.
Give it to me, Tom.
You're both really close, but both of those would have broken the regulations on fuel tank size.
Wait, why would it have? I'm saying the fuel tank can be the same size. You just keep refilling it with fuel.
Not if you connect it to another bigger fuel tank.
Ooh, I got it.
Not to a fuel tank, Tom, to an airplane.
I got it. So there's another car, right? Like the other team's car. It's pushing this car from behind.
That is further away from me. Again, I love all the hacking that's going on here, but honestly, you're so close.
Okay, wait a minute. You keep saying that we're close here. So was there some mechanism by which the tank was able to refuel without stopping?
No.
Were they siphoning fuel? So they weren't siphoning fuel from anywhere else?
No, it was all within the car.
Oh, I've got one. Another thing that I could do is if I'm in a car, if there's some space next to me, I could put a big fuel tank in the passenger seat.
That's fuel tank regulations.
No, but it's not a larger fuel tank. It's just a different fuel tank that I switch
That is a larger
out.
fuel tank.
That's a larger fuel tank.
No, it's different. It's not larger.
Listen,
it's different.
Here's the thing.
No, it could even be a smaller fuel tank.
You could have this argument about this loophole, but it's not a separate fuel tank. It is a little bit more clever. Like, you put a second fuel tank in your car, everyone goes, that's clearly against the rules. This is just a little bit more clever than that.
Were they using the same amount of fuel?
They were able to fit more fuel in there.
Okay.
Did they compress the fuel so that there was more in the same sized tank?
No, fuel's pretty incompressible.
Was the composition of the fuel any different, or was it the same fuel?
Yeah, exactly the same. When you get this, you're all going to complain at me that this is in fact a bigger fuel tank, but according to the regs, it wasn't.
They just have like water bottles of fuel that they would chuck in the back or something?
No, that's what I was suggesting. But then Tom said that's a bigger fuel tank.
But maybe it's not a tank. Maybe the fuel's going somewhere else.
Now we're getting there.
See, he's nodding.
There's actually like two separate hacks. There's a whole set of notes here on another thing this guy tried. If you also find that, I'll give you it as well. But this is really specifically some hack that made this work.
I would argue that this probably is a bigger fuel tank. Maybe this wouldn't work, but where is a fuel tank kept, right? In like an area of a car. What if I filled that whole thing with fuel?
It wasn't the fuel tank. Where could you put more fuel without having
The hose! Oh, super long hose!
There
with
it
fuel.
is!
Oh.
There it is. Not
there's
just a
good
super long
one.
hose, but a super wide hose. He managed to fit an extra 5 gallons, so like 19 litres of fuel in a super long, super wide hose that was 6 feet of pipe, half an inch wide. Originally, it became an 11-foot pipe that was 2 inches wide. So it wasn't the fuel tank, it was just the pipe that got the fuel in there.
What was the other hack?
He put a basketball in the fuel tank that could be inflated when they were doing the test for fuel capacity and then deflated afterwards.
That feels like, that's not a hack. That is cheap.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's always a fine line.